Hey everyone, Metagross Freak here, and while I realize my name is Metagross Freak, I really don't do a lot of videos on, well, Pokemon. So today I want to talk about what's considered or at least what is generally considered like the four weakest types in Pokemon, and explain how I would balance them for either a game like Pokemon Stars or the Gen 4 remix, though more realistically, probably more likely in Generation 8, so like 3, 4 years from now. The first I want to talk about is grass. Grass is one of my personal favorite types. I love the designs for a lot of grass Pokemon, and grass is basically the every generation and every set of games I pick the grass starter. Now, if I'm like, for example, I've done 4 playthroughs of Pokemon X, I've picked other starters, but for my first time playing through each game, I always pick the grass starter. However, that being said, grass is one of the weaker types. A lot of the weaker type combinations grass is a part of, especially for types like just either pure grass, grass poison, grass bug, grass steel. Like, steel is considered a good type, yet even grass steel isn't always like the best. It's considered a weak typing. Or grass dark, for example, which has tons of weaknesses. Grass right now is strong against ground, rock, water, and weak to bug, fire, flying, ice, and poison. All of that is fine, those make sense. However, if I wanted to make grass just a little bit stronger, to make it a little more balanced, I'm instead looking at its resistances. Grass takes half damage from ground and water, but not rock. Now, we can all agree that rock is a good typing. Rock is great, especially considering how prevalent Stealth Rocks is in the meta ever since it was introduced. However, in order to make grass a little bit better, I think adding a resistance to rock would be good. After all, it's strong against rock, grass should be resistant to rock as well. You know, if you have a plant and you drop a rock on it, yes, it'll be damaged, but most of the time the plant, or like even grass, if you drop a bunch of rocks on grass, yes, the blades can be broken, the plant can be damaged, but it'll grow back, and it'll grow over the rock. Given time, the rock will be covered in moss, grown over. The rock will decay, meanwhile the grass will continue to grow around it. So I think adding rock as a resistance for grass will help make it more balanced. Plus it just makes sense, and rock is already a strong enough type as it is. Giving grass a resistance to rock would really help it in the long run. Ice is a type that's kind of similar, not in the sense of giving it a resistance to rock, but I think it should have a resistance to different typings. Let me pull up my notes here. I actually pulled up a note for a second. You're going to be able to see this. Oh, I believe ice should have a resistance to flying and bug. To me, this makes a lot of sense. A lot of bugs, or a lot of insects, hibernate during the winter, or at least will be less active in the winter. You know, you tend to see a lot of ants and spiders and mosquitoes in the summer months, but you know, you don't really see a lot of them in the winter. I'm in California, which is a rather moderate zone. You know, we don't get snow in central California very often, and even here, we don't see a lot of insects very often. Occasionally, I might see a fly or some gnats. I saw a spider about a month ago, but generally you don't see them very often in the cold months, and you only tend to see seasonal birds during the winter. I think ice then should resist flying and bug. Oh, sorry. And to me, that just makes sense. Or at least, ice should be strong against bug, though I think having a resistance to flying and bug would be better. Plus, ice only resists itself, and ice really needs a better defensive typing. Ice is great offensively, but defensively, it kind of sucks. So, even adding one of these, like if it just resists flying, I think would be a huge buff to it. Next up we have Bug. Bug used to be considered a really weak typing, but since, I would say even Generation 4, Bug has become a very good typing, at least considered a better typing. We have really strong bugs now, like Mega Scizor, Mega Pinsor, we have Volcarona, we have Mega Beedrill, Shuckle is always still prevalent in the meta. Many Pokemon like that. Fortress fell off in the meta in favor of other rapid spinners, but it's still good. Mega Heracross is great. Ninjask and Shedinja have their niches. Mothim is basically better Butterfree. Scolipede is good. Excavalier is good. Galvantula is good. Genesect, Vivillon, Vikavolt, Ribombee, Golisopod, Buzzwole, Pheromosa, and even more, if you can, even more though, like Araquanid, and even Armaldo is pretty decent. There are a lot of good bug types, but bug isn't really that great of a type. I mean, would you just look at these 7 types that resist bug? There are 3 that are strong against it. But it could use a little bit of help. My recommendation, because bug, remember, bug is more balanced than grass and ice, so it's trickier to balance. My recommendation would be that 2 types that don't make sense to me are fairy and ghost, resisting bug. The others make sense, steel resisting bug makes sense, poison resisting bug makes sense, as does flying and fire, and all for that matter, if bug already, to reinforce my point with flying, bug already does half damage to flying, so why doesn't flying resist bug? I mean, that seems like someone forgot to fill in the graph there. And fighting, I guess, kind of makes sense, because the whole, like, grabbing a bee or a fly out of the air thing, it's a martial arts trope. But fairy and ghost don't make sense to me. I would remove one or both of those to help make bug a little bit better offensively. Preferably ghost, because ghost really doesn't make sense that it resists bug. Removing ghost's resistance to bug, I believe, would help balance it. And last but not least, the 4th type I'm going to cover is normal. And before anyone comments, I get it. Normal is basically the idea of not having any elemental power. You don't have that strong physical strength of a fighting type. You don't have the elemental power of a water or fire or psychic type. And a lot of Pokemon that were originally normal, what I guess you could call the Pinkums, quote-unquote, became fairy. A lot of those more supernatural normal types, Pokemon like Clefairy and the Togepi line, became fairy types, or part fairy types. So what remains? Well, a lot of Pokemon that are just pure normal. A lot of mammalian Pokemon, or Pokemon that are just kind of not necessarily human-like, but definitely more mammal-like and have more mammal-like characteristics. Things like rats, cats, kangaroos, foxes, bear-type creatures. We have like kind of squirrel, mongoosey things. We have, again, bears, deer, dogs, cows, raccoons, apes, more cats, mongooses, a couple reptiles. We have beavers, rabbits. The list goes on. Not watchdogs, but like muskrat kind of things, dogs. We have chinchillas, buffalo, more rabbits, again, more mongooses, koalas. Normal type is essentially the mammal type, and I get that. However, it's resistant to, and it's not resistant. It's resistant to. Again, I don't even know why I said resistant again. It's immune both offensively and defensively to Ghost, which is fine. That's balanced. Normal can't hurt Ghost. Ghost can't hurt Normal. I think that's fair. It's weak to fighting, which is fine, and it does half damage to rock and steel. Rock and steel resist it. Normal is a balanced type, but it's very rare to see pure normal type Pokemon unless it's a Pokemon like Blissey or Porygon 2 or Porygon Z, one of my personal favorite Pokemon. We occasionally see Chansey. Mega Kangaskhan was popular in Gen 6 before it got nerfed in Gen 7. Ditto is popular, though because of its ability to transform. Snorlax is popular because of its giant bulk, just like Blissey and Chansey. Slacking has a niche, as does Exploud, but again, a lot of these Pokemon in normal are very niche Pokemon. Even a Pokemon like Arceus isn't used because it's a normal type, but because it can turn into other types. So how would I balance normal? Well, that's difficult to say. Um, I would say that some Pokemon in normal need to have a buff. Pokemon like Lopunny, or by extension Mega Lopunny, are powerful. Pokemon like Chansey, Blissey, and Snorlax are very bulky, so maybe they don't need this boost. Maybe that would drive them over the line. But what I think would be useful is if maybe they had some other advantage to help them out. And this is where I pull from my experience with normal types. I'm pulling from one of my favorites, Porygon Z. Now, Porygon Z, one of its abilities is adaptability, and it also has analytic. Adaptability is an ability that increases stab from 1.5 to 2.0, and analytic is an ability that isn't really all that great in the context of Porygon Z, in that it boosts power when the Pokemon moves last. And I think that would actually be a good idea for normal types to have, kind of as a hidden passive ability. If you look at their speeds, a lot of normal types are either very fast, because they're like the regional HM slave, Pokemon like Raticate, Pokemon like Furret, Pokemon like Linoone, so they might not benefit from it. However, a lot of Pokemon are also slower. Pokemon like Snorlax, or Miltank, or Blissey, or Slackoff. Maybe having either adaptability or analytic as kind of a built-in passive of their type could help benefit them, just like how grass Pokemon are immune to Leech Seed, Spore moves, and Powder moves. Maybe adding in something kind of like either adaptability or an analytic would help benefit them enough to make normal viable in the long run. Anyway, so these are my thoughts on the 4 types I consider the weakest, giving grass an extra resistance, giving ice at least one more resistance other than itself, taking away something that resists bug, making it neutral, and giving normal some kind of an additional boost to make it viable again. Of course, these are just my opinions, and you're welcome to disagree, but let me know what you think in the comments below, and I look forward to what you have to say. Until next time, I'm Metagross Freak, and thanks for watching.